Six Flags just dropped a bomb on us with new details about Six Flags Qiddiya, which is their amusement park that they're planning on building in Saudi Arabia, set to open in 2023. And included in the details are some of the rides, attractions, and different areas that you can see in the park, with special focus on the headlining attraction Falcon's Flight, which is set to be the tallest, fastest, and longest roller coaster in the world. Sounds too good to be true, right? It's because it probably is. I don't think this is ever gonna happen. There's no way. But I'm gonna get into all of that later. This is gonna be my full breakdown on everything. I'm gonna give you my thoughts. So buckle your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen. There is a lot to talk about. We know Six Flags is looking to build more of their parks in the international markets to further expand their brand. However, it has not been going too well for them. Six Flags Dubai recently got canceled. Both of their Six Flags parks in China have since been delayed. The park in Vietnam did not happen. And so now we have details about a new park they're wanting to build in Saudi Arabia, and it looks pretty fantastic. However, this is not a true Six Flags park. Essentially what it is Six Flags is giving them the name Six Flags. They're lending them their advice on what they can do to make this park awesome, but really it's the Qiddiya group that will be doing all of the heavy lifting, aka using their money to build it, using their land, and for the most part management, although it does sound like Six Flags will have some sort of management role in the property. So in true Six Flags fashion, Six Flags does not want to spend their money on the project, so instead they're letting someone else do it and they're slapping their name on it. But let's talk about the Qiddiya group. Essentially all of this is happening because Saudi Arabia wants to boost their tourism, get more people there, and they said building a world-class theme park is the way to do that. And a lot of who we have to thank for that is Mohammed bin Salman, which is the crown prince and deputy prime minister of the country. He's the one who said, we want the biggest, the fastest, the baddest roller coaster ever. So if you thought it was a little unusual that a random place in the middle of nowhere is going to be built with all of these world-class roller coasters, including the largest roller coaster of all time, he would be the reason for that. And we know that Six Flags is at least taking this property seriously, because they have released a lot of new information with that, and you can also see a bunch of promotional stuff that they shot to advertise the new park. They filmed everything at Magic Mountain. They hired a bunch of extras who look like they might be living in Saudi Arabia, put them on all the rides at Magic Mountain, and they're sending that around to build up hype about the park. So already, that is more than we ever saw for Six Flags Dubai. The main reason why that property did not happen is because the other Dubai parks and resorts have not been seeing the attendance that they want, and so building a whole nother park just didn't seem like the best idea, so that project got canceled. So I personally do not think that that will happen with this property because they don't have any other competition in the area. You do have the Emirates, which is the next door country to Saudi Arabia, but this is pretty much going to be the only major park in the area. And what a park it will be, assuming it gets built. There will be 6 unique lands, and based on these renderings, they look pretty great. The main areas that you have is you have the Citadel, that's the central hub of the park. The City of Thrills, that's where you're going to have Falcon's Flight. Discovery Springs, that's going to be a well-themed kind of exotic area. Steamtown, that's your steampunk area. That's where the tilt coaster's going. Yeah, there's going to be a tilt coaster here. Twilight Gardens, that sounds more like your kids area. Valley of Fortune, that is where the triple launch coaster is going. If you look at that rendering, doesn't that just scream Pantheon? And then we have Grand Exposition. There's going to be a giant pendulum there. And what is described as Six Flags Qiddiya's classic and most loved coaster, which I think is hilarious that they say that because no one has even ridden any of these. So how can you say it's a classic and most loved if it doesn't exist? But whatever. Anyways, that is going to be called Colossus. It is a gravity-driven wood steel hybrid roller coaster. What does that sound like to you guys, RMC? Now, it does say it'll be 800 meters long, which, to put that in perspective for those of you in America, that equates to less than 3,000 feet of track. So that would be a shorter ride than Goliath at Six Flags Great America. But again, we don't have a whole lot of details with that. That's just my guessing based off of the information we have been given. But if you look at all these renderings, the park really does look amazing. But if I've learned anything about renderings is that the final product will not look like that. There are always things that will change, which gets me into my next point about Falcon's Flight. If you're wondering how this coaster can possibly be built because it literally defies the laws of physics, it's because this is not the final rendering. Assuming this coaster gets built, and again, that's a big if, this layout will change. This is just a tentative idea of what the coaster could be like. There is no way that a roller coaster with this exact rendering could possibly be built because it would not make any sense. But that being said, I think what the rendering does do is give us an idea of what kind of ride this is going to be. It also gives us an idea of who could build this. Because to me, there's only one manufacturer that would be insane enough to do a ride like this, and that is going to be Intamin. Especially when you look at some of the maneuvers that they're trying to incorporate. No one else would build a ride like this. In order to break all of the records, it would have to be over 456 feet tall, over 8,000 feet long, and they're talking about the max speed on this being 156 miles per hour. That would be 7 miles per hour faster than Formula Rossa, the current fastest coaster in the world. So holy crap. This ride is going to be ridiculous. And I certainly hope that the final product, again, assuming this gets built, ends up being better than the animation, because the layout doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. There are some cool maneuvers on here, lots of airtime moments. The coolest part to me is when it pops up on this quarry wall, so anyone else getting Six Flags Fiesta Texas vibes, and it does this dive off of it, and that's actually where you reach the fastest speed. It is not at the bottom of the first drop. But that's just based off of the animation that we've been given. Who knows what the actual height, speed, and length of this thing will end up being, assuming it gets built. So let's talk about that, assuming this all actually happens. I mentioned in the beginning how Six Flags does not have a very good track record with international parks. None of the parks that they have talked about building internationally have actually happened. So what makes this one different? I would say because they're partnering with the Qiddiya group and they're going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting, that to me is what is going to make this actually happen, because it's not Six Flags doing it. So that is why all of the different areas of this park are vastly different than everything else you've ever seen at a Six Flags park. Like, where's the Looney Tunes stuff? Where's the DC superheroes? You won't find them here, which to that I say thank goodness, because this looks a whole lot better. So that's why I say if this all actually happens, this could be an incredible park. But here's the other thing you have to keep in mind. When was the last time Six Flags actually built a new park from the ground up and opened it successfully? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's Six Flags St. Louis, or as it was back then, Six Flags over Mid-America in the 1970s. So you're telling me now, in 2023, they're going to open up a new park when the last one they opened up successfully was in the 70s. And that's not even the same Six Flags that it is now. It's like what I said in the beginning, it just seems too good to be true. And pardon me if I sound pessimistic, I really am not trying to be negative about any of this, because if this does all happen, this is going to be great. I'm just trying to be realistic, and when I say Six Flags' track record does not do them any good. They say in this video that they're lending their expertise. I personally don't look at that as a good thing. Six Flags is not a very good operator of theme parks. I can name a whole lot of companies that I would have more faith in building a brand new park than Six Flags. So here's what I'm predicting will happen. I do think that this park will get built. However, I do not think it will open in 2023. I am predicting that it will get delayed. And I feel like that's not that far-fetched of a prediction, because every other project that they've done has gotten delayed. If you want a recent example of a delayed project, see West Coast Racers. The fact of the matter is that stuff happens. The other prediction I have is that the park will not open with all of the stuff that they are showing in these animations. I would not be surprised if many of the coasters that you see in here do not open with the property. Maybe different companies drop out, plans change. I mean, you have to think, 2023, that's 4 years from now. That's a long time. All sorts of things could happen between now and then, including the project getting canceled. So that's why I'm not being overly positive about all of this big announcement, because I know that if this does all happen, it will not be all big, grand, and glorious like they're making it seem. But I will say, if they open it with very few hiccups and all of what they're talking about including is included, and like the level of theming is great, all of the rides and attractions are awesome, then you know, hats off to them, because that would be incredible. I would seriously be so impressed. And if the park ends up being anywhere near as good as what these animations are making it look like, then you will see me on a flight out to Saudi Arabia to check this out. So if their goal is to increase tourism, if this park happens, I do think it will do that. So I really do wish everyone working on this project good luck. I hope that things work out well for them, because all this really could be a game changer. But they just have to get past that first challenge of being stuck in the pre-development phase. That's all this is right now. They haven't broken ground on anything yet. I think they have a very bold plan. All of the things that they want to include in it look great, but especially when you look at something like Falcon's flight, I'm just so skeptical that something like that would happen. But those are just my thoughts on Six Flags Qiddiya, the new theme park that Six Flags hopes to build in Saudi Arabia. Let me know down in the comments below if you agree with anything of what I've said. Post all of your thoughts down in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. I do a lot of theme park and roller coaster videos from around the world, so you can stay tuned for more. So hope you enjoyed this analysis. I'll see you guys next time.